now. Okay. Hey, official good morning. Thank you for being here. I know it's tough getting up on a Friday morning and you know, the last day of the week and all that jazz and then getting to class. So I appreciate that you're here. Thank you. You can see on your screen, I think, can you see the blackboard with the green writing? Did I share it? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. So you can see we got quite a bit to do today. That AI part is going to take a while to do those notes and talk about that part of the lesson planning assignment. And then we'll see if we can get down to the stuff at the bottom of the page. And then, yeah, I think that'll be probably it. That's probably all we've got time for. So also, I just wanted to say, I realize that on these videos, where are they? These ones right here, the 10.12 and 10.3, there's a problem with checkbox questions. I understand that. So I have learned a very valuable lesson of do not have checkbox questions on the videos anymore. So I'm not going to do that. Anybody who's submitted it already knows that I've given you the marks for those questions. So if you have not submitted it yet, or you just submitted it, or, you know, and you don't have a mark for it, I will go in there and manually mark those questions. And then you'll get the marks for them. So I apologize for any confusion on that. I know that when you're checking each box and you're still getting the wrong answer, it's kind of makes you crazy a little bit. So I apologize for that. And in the future, I will try to avoid checkbox questions. Okay. All right. And then I just wanted to talk a little bit about the brain lesson plans, but I think we'll do the Bloom's review first. So it's a Kahoot. So get your Kahoot device out. However, you are going to play that. And then I'll bring it on the screen. All right, come on for 1 sec here. Where are we? Again. All right. So there's the game pin. So go ahead and sign in. It's just a review. And I should have wrote this down on the. I'm going to write this in red so that we can see it better. You go ahead and log in here. And just as you are logging in, I just want to bring your attention to the fact that in week 4, which is next Friday for us, is quiz number 1. Okay, so that'll be up to and including everything we do today. And then we will have quiz number 1 next Friday. So this is part of the review that will hopefully help you. And I mean, I do these so that it will help you understand where you're at and what you understand and what you need, what you don't know and you need to brush up on. So just so that you're aware, quiz number 1 then next Friday, and we'll start the day off with that, and then we'll go from there. All right, I'm just still waiting for a few people here. And as we wait, hey, Liberty, I got a question for you. Are you related to Corey? You don't think so? Oh, okay. Because we have Corey Heisted in, what is she, 3rd year, 4th year? 3rd year. She's a 3rd year this year. All right. How many? We got 16 people. We've got a couple more people to 17. Is there anybody who needs more time? I think there's not a couple people that aren't in yet. Lily. All right. So 18. Okay. Other than maybe Lily, who just joined. Lily, we're doing a Kahoot. Is there anybody who needs more time to join? No? Okay. I'll wait for Lily to get into the game, and then we'll start. All right. Okay. So let me start it, and then we'll go from there. All right. All about Bloom's taxonomy. All right. What year did Bloom create his original taxonomy? And there's a picture of him right there. What year was that? Right. 7 seconds if you've not answered. All right, how are we doing here? Let's see. There we go. All right. So 1956 is the correct answer. 2001, those two people who answered that one, you hold on to that answer for a question later on. In 1965, well, we just flipped the numbers around there on you just to fool you. So the correct answer is 1956, the original taxonomy. One of the other things that you'll notice as we go through in the pictures that show up is just a variety of different ways that people have represented blooms using different images other than the triangle. Okay. All right. Let's see. How did we do here? All right, Ava, nice work. Okay, here we go. Question number 2. Bloom's original taxonomy was revamped for the first time in what year? What year? And the correct answer was 2001. Okay. And all the rest of them are just wrong. Okay. Okay. Whoever answered 2017, you might want to hold on to that thought as well. Okay, let's see. How did we do? All right, Ava, still in the lead by a little bit. All right, here we go. Bloom's revised taxonomy was redone by whom? So we already know it's 2001, but who was it that revised it? All right, 5 seconds. All right, so we know that it was Creflo and Anderson. Nice work. Maslow and Anderson, not so much. Maybe she did work with Abraham Maslow on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but I don't even know that. I just made it up. So, okay, so correct. I also just want you to look at this picture for 1 second and notice that, of course, A, it's not a triangle, it's a light bulb, but notice the different stages and they're not the same. That is because this is the old Bloom's taxonomy from 1956. So whenever and if ever you're looking at or searching a Bloom's taxonomy, anything, remember that ours top level is create, right? So this is the old version. So you can see that application and analysis are right in the middle here again, but you can also see that analysis in the new one is below the line, right? We have that line right here, and then applications above. So anyways, some of the same words, but also some different ones as well. So just bring that to your attention. And I know you can't read the little stuff in the light bulb, but it is just the verbs. Okay. All right. Let's see how we did score wise. Eva's holding on to the lead. Nice work. Okay, next, number 4. Oh, it's a double pointer. Asking your students to recall the provinces and capitals of Canada is at what level of Bloom's? All right, 5 seconds left if you've not answered. And the question is remembering, or the answer, sorry, is remembering, which is the correct one, because it's just recall, right? Basic facts, those kinds of things. So that is just remembering, okay? Understanding would be slightly above that, obviously, but okay. So the correct answer is remembering, right? When you just got to recall basic facts and stuff like that, it's at the level of remembering. All right, Eva, still in the lead. Here we go, number 5, another double pointer. Asking your students to design something is at what level of Bloom's taxonomy? Okay. All right, I think everybody's got their answers and nice work. So the correct answer is creating. It is not applying, okay? They would have been past the applying stage to get to the design stage, okay? And again, if you were to look at the cognitive domain under create, you would see the word design, okay? So anytime that, the word's like a synonym for create, then it's under the creating category. Okay, how are we doing here? Eva's still in the lead. Lily's on the board. All right, here we go. Next. How many domains does the taxonomy have? All right. Well, we're all aboard on that one. So the correct answer is 3. I'm not going to mention them or give the names of them, although we know one of them is cognitive. But I'm not going to give you other ones because there's some questions coming up about them. So, all right. The correct answer is 3. Okay. 5 and 6. No. Okay. Now that's the levels. If you're thinking about remembering, understanding, applying, analyzing, where am I at? Evaluating, creating, then the answer would be 6, but that's not the domains. Okay. All right. So if you remember, there was one that dealt with your brain, which is the cognitive, the one that dealt with the heart, which I'm not going to tell you the name of that one, and then one that dealt with like doing stuff with your body. Okay. So let's see what's going on here on the scoreboard. All right. Nicole is on the board. Nice. All right. Ava's still holding on. Okay, what do we got going on? What year was sharing added to Bloom's taxonomy? At least unofficially. 10 seconds if you haven't answered. All right, I guess we got to wait for the countdown to go all the way through here. All right, the correct answer was 2017. Okay, 2001 again was the second, or I guess the first revision by Crathwell and Anderson. But in 2017, if you want to call it the digital Bloom's taxonomy, kind of added sharing at the top level. Okay. All right. So now you know. And again, if you are getting any of these incorrect, those are, note to self. I need to make sure I study that for the quiz kind of idea. Okay. All right, Jason. Well, nice work. Well to representing the guys on the board. Okay. Nice work. Okay. Ava, you are unstoppable, I think, here. Let's see. Number 8, halfway there. The bottom 3 levels of Bloom's are considered what? Right. If you remember where we drew a line down the middle here and separate the bottom 3 and the top 3. All right. If you said lower order thinking skills, you are correct. If you said higher order thinking skills, maybe you were standing upside down. I don't know. Okay. So we know that the bottom 3 are lower. The top 3 obviously are then higher order thinking skills. So what do we got going on here? All right. Same people, just different scores. Okay. How are we doing here? When designing a lesson, where do you find the different levels of Bloom's? All right. Just what I think everybody's answered. So the correct answers, or correct answer, is the programs of study, right? So the curriculum, right? Honestly, so this is of course like a multiple choice, choose the best answer, but you could make an argument for the red one, considering that the actual programs of study are on the web. So anyways, but the bestest answer is the programs of study. Okay. All right. How are we doing? A little change of people's position, but that's it. All right. Katie's making a comeback. All right. Number 10. What is the domain of Bloom's that teachers use the most? Think of the triangle. What one does that represent? All right, the correct answer is the cognitive. If you said cognition, I mean, they're pretty much the same thing. But if we're talking about the official domains of Bloom, then it is the cognitive domain. We don't call it a cognition domain. Okay, so kind of a tricky one there. Okay, so let's see how we did. All right, pretty solid top 5 here. Let's see what we got going on here. Another double pointer. And the domain that deals with emotions, feelings, etc. is what domain? All right, the correct answer is the affective domain, right? So we know that that's the one that kind of deals with heart, your feelings, the heart, that kind of idea. Okay, let's see what we got going on next. Everybody stayed the same, just a little bit more points. All right, number 12, another double pointer. Having students do a dance improv in drama class would be what domain? And again, we're talking about the domain's name. All right, waiting for the timer. All right, the correct answer is the psychomotor domain. There is no kinesthetic domain officially, right? But psychomotor, I mean, a synonym would be, for doing hands-on types of things would be kinesthetic. But again, we're talking about the names of the domains themselves. The correct answer is psychomotor. So again, tuck that one away for quiz time next Friday. All right, how are we doing? Morgan's on the board. Dathan is off. Unfortunately, gentlemen, there's no representation here. Come on, let's go. All right, ladies, the words used in blooms are what? What type of words are they? All right, just wait. Tick tock here. All right, the correct answer is that the words are verbs. Okay, and if you said nouns or adjectives, if you were to use a sentence like students will create, so then we have a noun at the beginning, and then we have the verb, but it's the verb, right? So all curriculum outcomes have the verbs in them, and those, of course, are the ones that we use in our lesson plans. So verbs is the correct one. All right, how are we doing here? All right, same 5 different scores. Okay, we're getting close to the end. The top 3 levels of blooms is considered. Everybody should get this one real fast. All right. Remember the bottom 3 and then the top 3. All right, 4 seconds. I guess we have to wait for the answer. The correct answer is higher order thinking skills, right? So, again, that's where we want to move. We want to move from the lower order thinking skill kind of area and eventually have kids up in the higher order thinking skills. So, how did we do here? All right. Last 2 questions left here. This is a multi-select, so select as many as you can that are right answers. Bigfoot is real. Again, select as many that is the correct answer. Oh, all right. True. Look at you guys did so great on this one. Awesome work. Let's see what happened on the scoreboard, though. This one messes up the scoreboard a little bit. Oh, look at that. Oh, sorry, Eva. You have 1 question left, though. You might be able to catch up. All right. In 2022, Richard Heller proposed a new level of blooms that's going to go between analyzing and applying. What was that level called? All right, 7 seconds. All right, the correct answer is collaborate. Okay, and if we look at this media, I like this representation of the taxonomy with collaborate here in the middle, because then you sort of, I think that you can kind of infuse it into, any one of these areas whenever you need. So it could be at any level at any time. I kind of like that. So anyhow, it is collaborate. It is unofficial as well as like sharing is. And again, you know, in his paper or his article or whatever you want to call it, he makes a pretty good case for it, but it is not officially being adopted as part of Bloom's like official. Okay, how are we doing here? We got the medal round. Taking home the bronze is Dason. Nice work. The silver goes to Nicole. Excellent. And bragging rights. And the gold medal goes to Morgan. Nice work, Morgan. All right. Okay. And then Ava and Tyler, well done. All right. I'll just get out of here now. We don't need to do this anymore. And I'll just close it up and leave. Sure. Okay. Awesome. All right. So I want to just take a look before we get rolling at the brain lesson plan templates. Okay, so after today's class, you I'm going to set you loose to create your own lesson plan on a grade, topic, subject that you like. So you can see here that in the Google Classroom that I've set that due date for that assignment on the 14th, and I'm going to consider this like the rough draft. Okay, so that you can submit this, and what it will happen is I will mark it, and over the reading week holiday or whatever you want to call it, and then get it back to you for when you come back to class. And then what I will do, and I don't do this with very many assignments, but this one I think is important enough that after I give you my feedback and your mark, that if you want, you will have the ability to take my advice or change the things that I mention in your lesson plan and resubmit it one time. Okay. And if you choose not to do that, that's up to you. But I'll give you the opportunity to resubmit to get a higher mark if you need it on your brain lesson plan. Okay. So with that said, let me just go to the lesson plans here that we talked about in class and the templates that we designed. So first of all, remember this, that this is your template. So if you're going to use it to create a lesson, you're always going to go file, make a copy. Okay. And then once it makes the copy, then you can call it, lesson plan on whatever. Okay. All right. So up to this point, I think you should probably already have the top portion of this filled out. If you don't, that's okay. Okay. Up to teaching points. So all this stuff, all you K-6 folks should have this stuff sort of maybe at least in your head, at least for sure. Okay. And then, so now again, after today's class, then what I will expect for next Friday is for you to have the rest of this template filled out. Okay. And again, just a note to self that the teaching notes, you don't have to have anything in there because you really need to actually teach the lesson before you can really sort of reflect on it. Right. And what else was I going to say about this one? So also want you to remember that more is better on your lesson plan. Okay. One of the criteria areas on the rubric that goes with this assignment is this lesson teachable? So if you were to hand me that lesson and say, hey, Brad, will you cover my class today? And I look at your lesson plan, I should be able to teach from that. If I cannot, you will lose marks on this assignment for that. Okay. So what I am not looking for is under the anticipatory set is, students will whatever, and that's all you put in there. Right? More is better, right? Again, we can't have a verbal conversation about your lesson plan if I don't understand something on it. So you have to explain it like I'm a dum-dum, right? That I don't understand. I've never taught this class, and I need to explain it explicitly to whoever's going to teach it. In this case, me. Okay. So, and the same thing goes for you 7 to 12 folks. Okay. You should roughly have a chunk of this done. Okay. Certainly the topic, all this date subject stuff, you should have at least thought about your outcomes and, figured out your resources and, potentially even your vocabulary, your assessments and learning strategies, and even the blooms you might not have yet. But that's okay. Right. So then again, you'll be the same thing. I'll expect you to have a filled out, lesson plan. And remember, if you aren't going to use a segment because you don't have enough time in that class, all you have to do for that table is right click on it and just say, where is it here? Delete table. And that goes for the K-6 folks as well. So some of you might be able to use all three. Who knows? Maybe some of you might be able to do actually more than 3 segments. So again, if you want to do another one, you can just copy and paste it below, and you can have an extra segment. Okay. The other thing that I want you to be aware of is, and if you haven't looked in here yet, in assignment number 12, the completed brain lesson plan, I'm just going to open this up so it's easier to see. Okay. All of the resources you need to finish this assignment are here. Okay. So there are refresher videos to make the templates if you need it. There's ideas here, a whole folder I shared with you for exit tickets. If in your conclusion that you want students to do an exit ticket, there's some ideas here that you could use, and feel free to copy, borrow anything that's in there. And then there are exemplars from last spring and last winter's classes. So if you want to see what a lesson plan that got a good mark looks like, they're here. And then if you are working with the outcomes and you're unsure what in the outcomes box it should look like, there is how to cite the old or the current, and also how to cite the new K-6. So there's examples in both. Here is a text. Also, there's also how to cite the ICT curriculums for all grades. And remember, last day we talked about that there is different competencies, right? Communication, foundations, and processes of productivity. And that within those, they're divided not by grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, but they're divided by divisions. So division 1, 2, 3, and 4, going from K to 3 all the way down to 10 to 12. So again, if you're going to add ICT outcomes, or because you're using technology in your lesson, you need to include those outcomes as well. Okay. Also, if you're confused about Bloom's and what goes in the Bloom's box, in that, sorry, I'll just go back for 1 second here. In this Bloom starter kit for students, there's all kinds of resources in here, but the most important one that you need to know about is this folder here, and most important. So if I open that up, there is 3 PDFs in there that cover the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domain. And I'll just look at the cognitive for a second. Okay. So if in your lesson you're having kids create something, then what you would do on your lesson plan under, where's Bloom's here, you would put in the Bloom's level right here. And in this case, if they're creating something, it would be just a C6. You don't have to put the word create or compose or whatever, because it's going to be in your lesson plan. Right? So whatever level it is, or whatever the kids are doing in that lesson, all you have to do is put in the level, and you don't necessarily have to worry about the verbs. And then the same thing would go for the affective or the psychomotor, right? If students are going to express their opinion on something, that would be an A3. So again, on your lesson plan, in the Blooms, you would put an A3 or whatever the number is. And then, of course, for the psychomotor domain, it would be a P. And again, depending where you're at and what type of class you're teaching, all that stuff, it could be a P1 all the way up to a P6. So you would need to, again, just think about that under the Bloom starter kit right here for your lesson. Okay. And then there is also 2 videos here that walk you through actually creating a lesson. Okay. Whether it be the K to 6 curriculum or the 7 to 12 curriculum, there is a video that walks through of me doing a lesson, right? Basically from start to finish. Okay. If you need that. Okay. And then here are the rubrics. Okay. So be aware on your rubric of each one of these criteria headings. Okay. And if we go here, let me just scooch down for a second here. Is there anything? Come on, you can do it. Where are you? That work. Okay, there's that. And is that the, I'm just thinking here. Yeah, that's right. Okay. And let's open this one up. Okay. And so again, be aware of the teaching criteria and all of the other goodies that go with it. I was wondering where that went. Okay. So there's all these things, and this is, see, teachability. That means, is it a teachable lesson? That is worth 12 marks overall. So you don't want to lose those 12 marks, because that can really affect your overall mark on this assignment. So please take a look at these rubrics before you, or as you are working on your lesson plan, so you know exactly what I'm looking for. Okay. even as far as the file name goes, right? I want you to be very specific in mentioning, having the correct, lesson name and stuff like that. Okay. This one here, I'm going to have to come back. So I think this is the one. Is it the wrong one or where? Oh, there it is. It's on the second page as well. Okay, there we go. I'll fix those later on. Okay, so anyways, we're going to be aware of those rubrics so that you get a good mark. And then the other, or the last part of this, I'm just going to open this one up too, is remember what I'd like you to do is, and I'm just making it a little bit bigger. There we go. I'm encouraging you to use AI. Okay. So again, if you're talking about a grade topic and subject that you've never taught before, which probably is the case for most of you, if not all of you, why not use AI to help you? Okay. Why not ask it to help you? And let's use a Bloom's word, create a lesson plan for this grade, this topic, and this subject. And then once you've got AI lesson plan that that the AI is suggesting, I want you to critique it, right? So I want you to tell me, paste the prompt that you used, what software you used. Did you use ChatGPT? Did you use Google Gemini? Did you use Microsoft's Copilot? What did you use? Okay, I'd like to know that. And then there's just a series of questions here to answer. They're worth 3 marks. I'm looking for maybe 3 sentences. Okay, if you need more than that, that's great too. But I'm looking for a pretty good explanation as well. And then the last little part down here on page 2 is just some check boxes that you can, check yes or no, or whatever the case might be for you. Okay. And then this gets submitted with your overall lesson plan. So if we go back to Google Classroom for a second and we look at what to hand in, okay, you are handing in the completed brain lesson plan. Okay. You are handing in the rubric completed, highlighted, however you're going to do that. Okay. You are going to hand in the AI version of your lesson plan. So whatever the AI came up with, just copy it and paste it into a Google Doc. I want to see that with your submission and the critique that goes with it, which is actually worth 22 marks, not 18. Okay. And that gives us over here, Brad, 86. Okay. So that's what needs to be handed in for this assignment 12 for next Friday. Okay, let me stop for a second. Is there thoughts, questions, or things that are on your mind about really anything, honestly, from anything that we've learned thus far? No? Okay. All right. So you might have, if you have questions while you're putting this lesson plan together, don't be afraid to reach out to me either via Remind, or if you need a longer message via email, and I can help you or assist you as much as I can. But this is maybe your first time doing this, so of course it's a little bit stressful. You're not sure what to do. There's lots of things to think about. I totally get that. So that's why I'm saying that if you need help along the way, I'm here to help. That's what I'm here for. Okay. All right. All right. I'm going to close these 2 templates up. I don't think I need them anymore. Let me just save this so we don't lose any of those changes. Okay. And then the other thing, just while we're here, just to notice, and if we're just going to look here, I've got the word SAMR down here. It's actually an acronym. And the way that when we start talking about this, to think about it, or at least the way that I think about it, is it is the Bloom's taxonomy of technology. And what I mean by that is that if you're going to add technology to any lesson, this method is what you should use to decide whether the technology is appropriate or whether you should use technology at all, and that kind of stuff. So it's just an acronym for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. And we'll talk about those obviously when we get there. Okay. All right. So we talked about the brain lesson plans. We did the review, and now we're kind of here. We'll talk a little bit about SAMR. If we have time, we'll do this here. And we've talked about quiz 1 and the check boxes. So that's awesome. All right. So we're going to have some notes. Okay. And so we need to sort of plow through these. And let's see if we can get them done, how fast we can get them done. So AI notes, and I just want to make sure, yeah, there we go. Oh, also so with SAMR in here, there are some readings and resources like there is always for each week. And also there is another pop-up video here about how to use SAMR by the guy who, I don't know, invented it. Okay. So his name's Dr. Ruben Puentedera. And he's the guy who came up with this whole idea of SAMR. So I think it's 6 minutes long. So it's not very long. And there's a few questions to answer. So make sure you do those as well. Okay. Whew, all right. Let's do these notes. Okay. So first of all, I want to write a couple quotes down. And so one is a modern day quote from like 2024 and one's from the 70s. But I think the one from the 70s totally applies and probably will apply forever. And it goes like this. So again, it's a quote. So oops, I want green to stick here. Green. There you go. Okay. So quotation marks. Hold on for 1 second here. I just got to get my iPad situated better. Okay. Any sufficiently advanced technology Thank you. Sorry, my bad. Hold on here. What's going on here? Why can't you? Where'd they go? They totally disappeared. Oh, what the heck? Okay, hold on. That's a technical difficulty here. What is this? No, okay, just a sec here. And that is, okay, weird. Okay, all right, this just takes a sec here. So I got to do a little scan here. Just 1 second. Huh, I wonder why it pooped out like that. All right, so I got to scan the QR code. Hold on here. You'll see what I'm doing here. All right, that says it's happy. And then, weird. Hold on here. There we go. Okay, that's all weird. There's the notes again. So any sufficiently advanced technology, and then we'll go from there here in a second. Let me just get my stuff disorganized here a little bit better. There we go. Okay. So any sufficiently advanced technology is in, here's a spelling test word, distinguishable, let's see, hold on here. Indistinguishable, that's a mouthful, from magic. So the person who said that is a famous sci-fi author and scholar and all that stuff, but Arthur C. Clarke. And he said that in 73. Okay. So I think it's true. You know, if you think of the technologies that we have today, it is, you know, pretty magical. You can push a button and something amazing happens, right? So, you know, and again, if you think back to the 70s when really they didn't even have computers really, you know, really any advanced technology, and not just computers, you know, you think about your phone, or you think about, you know, I don't know, any technology, it is pretty indistinguishable from magic. Okay. And if you think of somebody from the 70s popping into our world now, you know, what's that, 70 years later or so, they would be just blown away with what we can do. Okay. And one more quote too. And this is from 2024. And this is by the CEO of Google. And his name is Sundar Pichai. And his quote goes like this. It is AI is probably, and again, this is his opinion, right? But, you know, he should know a lot if he's a CEO of Google. AI is probably the most important thing humanity has ever worked on. Okay. And I'm going to end the quote there. And again, that's Sundar. Oh my goodness, Bradley. Sundar Pichai. Okay. And that's from 2024. Okay. So I guess it's arguable. He does use the word probably there, but I think, you know what? I think the potential that AI has, and again, if we use it in a responsible way, could very well be the most important thing that we've had for a long time. There's a little bit more to the quote that I didn't write down, but he says in the rest of the quote, I think it is something more profound than electricity or fire. Okay, arguable again, but it's his quote. So, he's saying that this is the most important thing that thus far in humanity we've discovered, even more important than electricity and fire. I don't know. He obviously doesn't live in Red Deer when it's wintertime, because fire is pretty important. Okay, so anyhow, I think we talk about some really important people, and we land here with that. Okay, other one that I want you to think about is that kids who are 5 years old today will never know a world without AI. Right? You think about that. So the kids coming to your classrooms at whatever grade you want to be at, those kids will not know a world without AI. Right? And we could say that with lots of technology, right? Back in the day, you could say kids who are 5 years old today in your classrooms will never know a world without mobile phones or iPhones or whatever, right? We could say that. But if we're talking about AI, which we are, that the same thing applies. Again, so that means that everybody that's coming to your class, by the time you graduate in your 4th year and you get your own classroom and you're teaching and all that jazz, all of those kids will not know a world without AI, and they may have used it a lot. So just like when the internet and the World Wide Web came into our lives, we had to teach kids how to use it and what to do, what was inappropriate, what was appropriate. The same kinds that you're going to be teaching those same types of concepts to kids about artificial intelligence. And again, in 3 years or whatever, by the time you all graduate, we have no idea where it's going, right? Because it's so smart. And even the experts don't. It's already smart enough to basically almost like take care of itself. And many of the things that AIs are doing right now, people like Sam Altman from OpenAI and ChatGPT said, you know what, we actually don't really know how it's doing what it's doing. We don't know that. We can't figure it out. So kind of scary a little bit. Okay. All right. And so this kind of last statement on this page is and this is not a quote, but it's just what makes AI distinct, not extinct, but distinct, right, from other forms of I guess this is an important word, digital technologies, is its capacity. I'm gonna have to write this kind of a little funky here. Capacity to mimic human behavior. And I'll just abbreviate behavior like this because I don't run out of room. So what makes it distinct is its ability to mimic human behavior. And I mean, if you've watched any videos on the robots and different things like that, we already know that, from that deep fakes video that you had to watch, right? And Amica, the robot that they showed, she's pretty smart, right? And so we're not too far away from the ability for people to have these robots in their homes and things like that. So of course they're going to cost lots of money, but so anyhow, this ability to mimic human behavior. So we programmed it and we are training them to do that. And that's why you can use an app like this one that I like here, this one called Pi, is a chatbot. and it'll answer any question you want. It'll give you all the information you want. It'll tell you how to do a lesson plan. But I usually just use it as a chat bot. So, but again, that is this ability to mimic human behavior, where you can have a chat, and she has inflection in her voice, and she makes jokes and all of that kind of stuff. And she'll laugh if you say something funny. She'll laugh, and that you made a funny joke or whatever. So very interesting stuff. So again, you think about the applications of that in our classrooms, in our homes, for children, for seniors or adults, but I'm in my mind, I'm thinking more about senior citizens, especially ones that are by themselves. Having a chat bot type of robot or some type of device like that can help them out or keep them company, I think could be a game changer for that age group of people. So, and same thing with kids. Okay, so I just gotta find my mouse. It's got too many screens here. It's like, where is that mouse arrow? There we go. There we go. Okay, so let me make a new page here. So one of the other things that we also need to get straight in our heads is that we use AI synonymously for all the technologies that are out there currently. And in a minute or two here, we're going to talk about different types of AI. So these, like ChatGPT, right? Chat, that's a key word there. ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, that Pi, the one I like, all of these, they're actually in the truest form, not artificial intelligence. They're what they call large language models, okay? That make predictions about what words to say when you're trying to converse with it. Okay, and it's all math and it's all computer coding and all kinds of stuff. And we'll talk about that more in a minute too. But it feels real and all that jazz, and we call it AI, but it's not truly AI yet. Okay, so we're going to say this. We're going to say that AI, right, is an umbrella term, right? So it just covers everything, right? AI is an umbrella term, okay, that encompasses there you go, a range of technologies, okay, that can achieve goals, where am I here? By using inputs, right, that we give it, right? Inputs that we give it, whether it be by voice or by text, by inputs to infer, I'm going to say the correct outputs, right? So you ask it a question about UFOs and it'll give you an answer, right? So we're giving the input, it'll give us the output. Okay. So this word infer, what does infer mean? What does it mean? You can look it up if you want. You could use an AI to ask, thank you, Lauren. Yeah. To predict, right? To guess, an educated guess, right? So the way that people, human beings, are programming these AIs, these chatbots, is that they are trained. So let's write this down. So we'll talk a little bit more about it in a second, but Chat GPT. Okay. So the chat part, right? Like we're doing right now, I'm talking to you, you're talking to me, kind of idea, right? But the GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and not the kind that you saw on TV and maybe played with as a kid, right? So I think that really probably the key part here is pre-trained, right? So when OpenAI came out with its ChatGPT model, what it did is, once they coded all the computer code in there to make it work, what they call scraped the internet. And what that means is that they hit return on the keyboard and said, go learn, right? Go watch all the YouTube videos that you can. Go read every single article on every single website on the internet. So they pre-trained it with that information, trillions and trillions of bits of information. And then, of course, we also pre-train it by the things that we ask it, right? And I don't know if you've used AI and it's giving you an answer and it says, and then at the bottom it has a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Was that a good answer? So if you give it a thumbs up, you're training it saying, hey, that was a good answer to that question. Okay. And then the transformer part is complicated, but I'll try to make it very simple, is that it's really basically all math and all probability, right? So once it kind of pre-trains itself, when I ask it a question of what is AI, what it does is it starts thinking about what are the most probable words I should say here. And then from there, every word from the first word all the way across, mathematically, it says, what is the probability of this being the correct word? And again, when we respond to it or say, hey, good answer, or whatever we do, we are then helping that training process and saying, okay, oh, that was the right word. Okay. From 35% probability that was the right word for in the sequence, then now it's 98%. And, eventually it won't make the errors that we know that AI can make. Okay. So that's what the GPT stands for. And whether it's got the GPT in its title, like Copilot or whatever, it's still a GPT. It's a pre-trained transformer. Okay. And we'll talk about generative AI later on. Okay. So, so again, that's the important part that we have to impart to our students, or make sure that they understand that this is a machine. You are not talking to a real person. That we know. And again, some of it's exciting, some of it's terrifying, and I think some of it's kind of wait and see. Okay. All right. Umbrella. Okay. And then what I want to say here is that, again, so if it's an umbrella term, what it does is that AI covers a broad range of technologies, of tech. I'll just say of tech. Okay, right? So from things like holding your iPhone in front of you to open up your phone, right? So from things like facial recognition, I'm just going to go recognition, right? And I don't think any of us, I'll ask this because no one in my other classes, but I'll ask it. Does anybody here have a self-driving car? I don't. No, I didn't think so, right? But there are self-driving vehicles out there all over the world now, including just down south in the United States. They have semi-trucks now that go from point A to point B, and those trucks have no human beings inside them. They are just all autonomous, and they're robotic, and they're AI, and they're got all kinds of sensors and kind of stuff. But they drive from point A to point B to deliver whatever it is goods they have in the truck, and there are no people in the actual truck. So scary, good, I don't know. Got a little of each. So again, we can talk about autonomous vehicles, let's just say cars. I'm just going to say cars, shorten that up, right? To other things. So, we know that the music part we've talked about. You saw the Cleo Abrams. You watched those videos and all that. So we know that. So it's going to be difficult for me to play the song for you. But any of you that are familiar with country music artists, probably from the 80s, early 90s, named Randy Travis, right? If you're familiar with him, he had a hugely successful career, and he has Parkinson's disease now, and so he is really not functional. But in 2024, he released a new song, and he can't sing. And what happened with the song is that it was a previously written song by him. And what they did is they took AI to take samples of his voice and they use that AI to sing that song. And it's not actually sung by the human version of Randy Travis. It's sung by the AI version of Randy Travis. So very interesting, right? And you saw that in the videos that you've watched with Grimes, right? Is that she's embracing this whole AI in the music. Is like, you can use my voice, but you got to pay for it. And I think that's fair, right? So. Oh yeah, okay, well, interesting. I didn't know that. So dump trucks in northern Alberta, they're autonomous. Interesting. Yeah, right. And again, so there's another job that's kind of being replaced. Is these trucks know how to go down the whatever programmed route that they go in. And again, we don't need a human being in there. They get sick, needs benefits, all the kind of things that you got to give to human beings. And because again, an autonomous truck, yeah, every once in a while it'll break down and a mechanic will have to fix it, but that's it, right? Okay. So more about AI. So AI, I think one of the things that we have to impart to ourselves, but also to our students, is that AI is a tool. Okay. Like any tool or any trade, right? That there are certain tools that you use at certain times in your day. And when you're done with that tool and you don't need it anymore, we kind of put it away. So the same thing happens in our classrooms, even as you as a teacher. Right now, I need the TV to show you a video. So that's a tool that I'm using. And then I need this other tool to show you how to do something else. And once we're done that project or whatever, then we put that away, right? So there's different tools that, different trades or different, jobs do, but they don't use those tools all day long or those kinds of things. So AI is a tool to assist you. Okay. In planning a lesson, in writing report card comments, in cutting down for, at least right now, in some of those sort of administrative type of tasks that we do as teachers. But we got to be cautious because we have to understand how to use them first, right? You don't give a kid, or a person a power saw and say, go ahead and use it, right? They have to have some fundamental idea of how the tool works or the concept works before you can use that tool, right? I mean, if you just gave ChatGPT to somebody who's never seen it in the whole wide world, they'd be like, okay, what do I do? Right? So the same thing is AI is a tool to assist you. It's a tool to assist your students or people in general. So it's a tool to assist you, comma, not a tool to, I'm going to say cut corners, but you could also use the word cheat if you want. Okay. So again, I'm asking you to use it. The AI is a tool to help you generate a lesson plan because you have the fundamentals that I've given you in our notes and our activities about lesson plans, what a good lesson plan looks like, all that kind of stuff. Now, use AI, and then I want to know, how did it do, right? Could we use AI now to create all our lesson plans or our unit plans or whatever plans that we need? I don't think it's there yet, personally, but I want you to see what you think as well. Okay, so AI also isn't, I'm going to say necessarily about its usage today, okay, presently, right, in current time, right? It's more about, and this is pretty much really everything that we do in schools. It's today, it's about preparing our students for the future, right? This future that we don't know, our students for the future, right? For this future that we are not even sure what it really is going to look like, right? So it's about imparting skills like problem solving, other higher order thinking skills, perseverance, resilience, skills like that. And if you go to Industry Canada's website and you look up, what skills does the Canadian government think that Canadian students, kids will need for the future, there's a whole long list. And it's not the hard skills that you're thinking about that we teach them in class. It's about those things like getting along with other people, being able to collaborate, and all of those other ones that I've already mentioned. Those are the skills. Most employers will say, I can teach someone how to use this tool, but can they work on a team, and can they solve a problem and things like that? And well, if there's a problem and they don't get it right the first time, will they stick with it until they get it solved? Those are the skills that employers want. They're saying, I can teach you how to use any tool, but it's those other skills that are really important. So when we're preparing kids for the future, that's what I mean. Today, again, AI is in its infancy, right? It's going to increase and get better and smarter and more useful. Right now, we need to teach kids how to use it and how to use it ethically, but we're also preparing them for what's to come, which again, who knows, right? And then, so, I say all these things, but again, there's good and there's bad with everything that we do, right? Doesn't matter. I mean, you could pick up a stapler and say, I could use this in an appropriate way, or I could use it in an inappropriate way. It doesn't matter, right? So, when we talk about this sort of, fear of AI, I think it's warranted. But also, if we think back to the 90s, when the, World Wide Web, World Wide Web / internet, was in its infancy, people were saying the exact same thing they're saying about AI right now. It's like, kids are going to cheat. It's going to ruin the world. Kids are going to get dumber, blah, blah, blah. Right. But I can tell you right now, and I have a whole slideshow on it too, is that every single technology that's come out, they've made the same predictions for it. They made the similar types of predictions when the chalkboard came out. They said this is going to revolutionize education. I think it was the 20s when radios really became ubiquitous in people's homes. Like everybody had a radio, right? They said when the radio came out, they said, you know what? There's probably going to be no need for teachers anymore with a radio. Okay. And then you can think of all the way up all the other technology that we've had since, very similar things, right? So it's the same thing with AI. There's this fear right now of the unknown, a fear of change, how we're going to do things, but I still think it remains to be seen, the good or bad part. Okay. So AI is thought of as and I'm going to put this in quotation marks, disruptive technology. Oh, Bradley, technology. I'm just going to abbreviate like that. Okay. Just like the internet was, just like the radio, right? It's going to change things. It's going to disrupt what we're doing now, and we're going to have to figure out how to use it. Okay. So it's thought of as this disruptive technology. Okay. Got a couple more things here, and then we'll go for a break. Okay. So, how I think that we should think of not only sometimes ourselves, but also of this technology, this AI technology, is on like a guide on the side. Okay. So I think Nicole put that somewhere in the chat, or somebody did, about us, being facilitators and not necessarily teachers, right? So AI, not you, AI should be thought of as the guide on the side. AI should be thought of as the, put this in quotation marks too, guide on the side. Okay. And like I described earlier, it's like, you know what? I've got 37 of you in my math class, and I can't help everybody when they need help. So if we have these AIs, or we have tools like that can help kids get the help when they need it, and critically at the level that they need it, right? It's like me looking up some complicated astrophysics thing on an AI and going, I have no idea what they even mean. But then I could say to the AI, can you please explain that to me as if I was a 10-year-old? And it'll give you, what you need at the level you need. Yeah. So interesting, Shay. Absolutely. Could it replace an EA? In some instances, I think potentially, Yostra. But I still think that there's that human part that at least certain kids need, that human contact. And I mean, there's certain kids that come to schools that need toileting and feeding through, feeding tubes and things like that. I mean, maybe a robot might be able to do that at some point, but that's a long ways away, right? I mean, a cheap robot is probably $100,000. Like schools can't afford that. I mean, they can't afford to rent a bus to take kids on a field trip, let alone, $100,000 robots. So I think for the time being, at least, until the price comes down on all of these things, it's going to be out of the reach of classrooms, right? And as soon as like we can get a chat bot or some type of thing that we can bring to the classroom, and we can buy it at Best Buy or whatever, for a couple hundred, $300, we might be able to have a few of those in our classrooms, where a kid, like I said, a kid could go and say, hey, can you explain me how to do this problem, or can you help me rewrite this paragraph so it sounds better? Those kinds of things. So I think it's going to help with here the guide on the side, which then will enable or at least help us achieve the goal that we really all need to do as teachers, but we can't, because like I said, when there's 37 of them in one of you cannot have a personalized learning environment, right? So these AIs, the guides on the side, are going to help with personalized learning, all right? Just-in-time learning. I need to know this. I need help, but my teacher can't help me. I'm going to ask this tool to help me, right? And again, whatever kind of robot-y AI thing that's going to be, that again remains to be seen yet, right? 40,000, yeah, US dollars for the Optimus. That thing is Optimus. Is that the one that Tesla makes? Like I don't remember, right? Yeah, Tesla. Yeah. So yeah, cheaper than a person. So again, once that, again, $40,000, there's going to be a lot of school districts buying those. But again, once the price comes down, totally, potentially, absolutely. And of course, what this will also create is a digital inequality, right? But we've had it with every technology, right? Some of you have MacBook Pros. Some of you have Chromebooks. Some of you have iPads. And there, of course, are also people and kids that come to your classroom that can't afford to have those tools in their home because they don't have the money for that. So one of the ways or things that, again, future things that we're going to have to think about is how do you mitigate that inequality? When you say, okay, everybody, remember the writing assignment for tomorrow, go ahead, use your AI at home, and I want you to complete the assignment using your AI. Well, there's going to be kids that go, I don't have one of those at home. Right? So how do we mitigate that inequality or that technical divide between the haves and have-nots? And again, this is an age-old problem with every technology, but how are we going to do that with AI? We need to think about that. Okay, so when we talk about personalized learning at their, and what I mean there is, I mean students at their cognitive, and I'll say / or grade level, right? Because if we look at all the curriculum and all the outcomes, we expect kids to be able to do all those things. And we know in classrooms that not all kids are at grade level, right? You have kids that come to you that are 3 grades below where they should be reading, and kids that don't understand math concepts. And, there's these gaps in learning that kids have when they come to us. So again, AI could be a tool that helps mitigate those gaps and saves you time, helps the kid. And again, you think of it this way. An AI has unlimited patience. It'll let you ask a million questions and never go, oh my God, why don't you get this yet? Right? So that frustration that a human being would have, an AI device would never have that. Right? And same thing. One day when you have an AI, robot in your home, and you say, go get me another beer or go get me another drink, it's never going to say, get off your own butt and get it yourself. It's going to say, okay, I'll just go to the fridge and get you, whatever you want. Again, this unlimited patience, I think, has, again, the potential and unlimited time, right? Well, unlike what we don't have. I've got you for 35 minutes for math, right? That AI has all the time in the world for you, kind of idea. Okay, so it's important for us to know that these tools will help personalize learning, will help kids at the level that they're at, where you might not have that time or that patience or whatever to help a student in the moment. Okay, all right, let's stop there for a break. It's 10:35, so let's come back at 10:45. And I think you all know the routine now. If you got questions, hold on to them till after the break. And then I'll mute my mic and mute my camera, and we'll come back here at 10:45. Right. And Nicole, that's a good point. We have families that don't have Wi-Fi, let alone robots or whatever other technology in their houses. Absolutely. Right. And you have some kids going to Tim Hortons or other places where there's public Wi-Fi to do their homework. Absolutely. There's a really cute video. If you have nothing else to do at the break, you can look it up, where there's a little kid who goes into an Apple store or some tech store. And you know how they have iPads out there for you to play with and stuff. Well, she takes the iPad off the shelf and hides herself under the counter kind of thing. And a worker or employee at the store catches her. But she's going there. It's a touching video. But the kid's going there to use that iPad at the Apple store because they don't have one at home to do their homework. So anyways, it's sad, but it's good. Lots of good comments in the chat. Still got a couple seconds here before we'll start officially. Lots of good stuff. Good job on that, Morgan, naming that Randy Travis song. Awesome work. Yeah, lots of good comments, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, very interesting. So let's officially start again here. So welcome back. Thanks for coming back or staying here. Just looking at Shay's comment about the English class. Yeah, I mean, so what happens when it doesn't work anymore, right? Or there's no Wi-Fi, or there's not a connection, or whatever the case might be. So again, we can't, I don't think, totally rely on these tools, at least not yet. With sort of where you could imagine like, how would this work in a perfect world? We're not quite there yet. So before I get started, any other thoughts or questions or comments that you have, or anything that you'd like me to cover or whatever? No? Okay. So again, going back to Yosra's and to Nicole's comments in the chat too about replacing EAs, when we talk about scribing or reading, yeah, maybe. But again, that's kind of an administrative task if you have to do that. Could we free your time up as a teacher or as the EA and have an AI do that chore, right? I think probably yes. And that frees you up to actually do more meaningful things with kids. And the same thing with the teacher is that, again, I can't help 37 kids at one time. But when I have an AI in my classroom or a couple of them or whatever, that frees me up then to work with or do other things that I need to do in the class. So again, it's all going to boil down to how we use it, right? So what is our goal with AI as teachers? Then kind of like any technology is to show students how to use it ethically, how to use it ethically. Oopsie. Let's try that again. Ethically. There we go. Okay. So, I mean, as we've seen, as we've heard, you can make a deep fake. You can put somebody else's face on somebody else's body or vice versa, or you can do all kinds of crazy things with AI. And we need to teach kids how to use it ethically, just like we've taught students how to use the internet ethically, right? And do all students use it ethically? And there's no students in the whole wide world that are not plagiarizing? Of course there are, right? You can't control every aspect, but again, part of our job is going to be not only to teach them how to use the internet safely and appropriately and ethically, right? But it's also now going to incorporate AI into that whole process and that conversation about you can't use it to cheat. You can't use it to do bad, I'll use bad things, right? You can't use it to do bad things. So, one interesting fact about ChatGPT is, and they state this, is that it is not for the use of kids under 13 years old. So if you think about 13 years old, what's that, like grade 7-ish, right? Somewhere in that range, 6 to 8, right? It's not for the use of, so definitely not for the use of elementary age children, okay? Because what it can output may not be appropriate for kids of that age. And so that's something else that we have to think about in our education world classroom is that, so if there's no AI for kids in K-6, or they shouldn't necessarily be using it, what other tools do we have at our disposal? And I think that's not a bad thing. You know, if you think kids to K-6, let's teach them how to think and problem solve and do all the things they need, at least to that age, where then once they hit middle school and high school, then they have the potential of using that tool, but also using it ethically and appropriately and those kinds of things. So, right? So, I mean, again, what prevents kids from cheating is their own moral compass, right? And how they've been taught and raised and all that jazz. And will there be kids who cheat and kids who, you know, always, doesn't matter what the situation is, there'll be kids that try to cut the corners in the wrong kind of ways. Okay. All right. So showing how to use it ethically, right? I'm going to go comma, not preventing them from using it. I'll say using the tool, not preventing them from using the tool. Okay. So again, we're not going to take it away from you, but we're going to show you how to use it appropriately. And again, you can say substitute tool with anything, a hammer, a saw, whatever. I'm going to teach you how to use a hand mixer to make a cake appropriately and properly, right? That kind of idea. So, and again, each class, do I have room for this? I don't think so. I think I have to make a new page. So, you know, so I'm going to say each teacher / class will, let's see, back up here, Brett, will have their own guidelines for appropriate use. Guidelines for appropriate use. And I'll give you an example in our class, right? Appropriate use. So in our class, I'm currently encouraging you to use it to help you with your AI, with your lesson plans. At the end of term, when you have to write your technology philosophy, I am not going to encourage you. I'm going to tell you, do not use AI to write your philosophy, because I want to know what you believe, not what some machine can dream up and, you know, put words together, right? So in that assignment, it would not be appropriate to use AI. And of course, in your own classes, in what you're taking at RDP, there will be times where people will tell you that it's okay to use it. And there'll be times where people will say, please do not use it. And then again, your own moral compass comes into play on whether you do or don't, right? So again, well, everyone will have their own, because all of us have our own values and beliefs about what should be going on in my classroom or their classroom, right? And the way that I teach versus potential, let's say the way Nicole might teach or Shay might be different, right? We all have the same outcomes, but how we deliver those outcomes will be based on what we believe and what we value. And if we value and believe that technology can leverage learning and help us, then you'd use technology in your classroom. If you're like, no, we got to do it the old-fashioned way and we're not going to use technology, that's somebody else's values and beliefs, right? So we all have those. So along this ethical guidelines and all this jazz, one of the other things that we need to make sure that kids understand, but also to make sure that you understand as the teacher and currently as the student, is that AI hallucinates. So AI hallucinates, right? Just like somebody doing a bad trip, AI hallucinates, right? And it is biased. I'm going to say, I'm trying to think, do I want to use the word consistently or do I want to say all the time? I'm going to say all the time. All the time. Okay. First of all, why is it biased? Well, who's programming it? A human being. And all of us have biases and prejudices and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, if I'm some type of AI programmer that has a bias against women or against an ethnic group or a religious group, that could totally be within my programming of that AI. And then the answers that it pumps out could be biased or prejudiced or racist or whatever. So, so we need to know that. The bias part. We also need to know it hallucinates. So here's a great example from ChatGPT. So I didn't type this question in, but I did after I learned about this, and yeah, it's full of baloney. Okay, right? So here's the question that was put into ChatGPT. What is the world record for crossing the English Channel entirely on foot? Okay, a couple things we need to know. The English Channel is a body of water that is about 34 kilometers wide. Here's the answer. The world record for crossing the English Channel entirely on foot is held by Christoph Wanderschatz or whatever of Germany, who completed the crossing in 14 hours and 51 minutes on August 14th, 2020. Well, unless Christoph Wanderschatz or whatever his name is the second coming of Jesus Christ, there ain't no walking on water. We all know that, right? So anyways, and there's more. Like, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but it just made this story up. So we need to know that if AI doesn't know the answer, it's still going to give you an answer, but it may not be accurate, right? And most AIs will tell you that when you're going to do your search or whatever, it'll say, hey, be careful because this may not be entirely accurate, right? So we have to know, and of course we need to teach kids that. So again, when we're talking about, you need to have a foundation, a little bit of a foundation in what you're doing before you can rely on these AI tools to help you, right? Because otherwise, if you have no idea and you just say, hey, give me a lesson plan on whatever, and you don't know anything about lesson planning, about what's the good and what's the bad and all that jazz, it'll give you a lesson plan, and you being, I'll use the word ignorant, right? Not knowledgeable about lesson planning and what goes in a good lesson plan, will just take that AI as the gospel, right? Oh, right, there's my lesson plan. Woo, right? Or there's my essay on the French Revolution, and there's, 10 inaccuracies in there. So again, you have people, students, us, we have to have some background knowledge before we can actually use the tool properly. But again, I can go back to a hammer and a saw. You need to have some background knowledge on how to use those tools appropriately to be effective with those tools, right? So these hallucinations happen all the time, and this English Channel example is just one. So in the World Wide Web / internet world, we have taught kids that when you are looking for information on the French Revolution and you find a website that looks promising, that you should look at when was it published, when was it last updated, who's the author, is it an educational website, is it some person just in their basement blogging away on whatever. So we've taught them strategies on how to evaluate critically whether a website or that the information is good or not. Okay, so we can do the same thing with AI, right? Because I don't know about you right now, but I use AI when I want like a quick, to the point answer. I don't go to the web anymore, because what it's like, right? If I want to know about German Shepherd short-haired puppies and I put that into a Google search, I'm going to get 50 million websites, and then I got to investigate them all. If I want information on those types of puppies, I'll put that in ChatGPT or my the one I like, Pi, and they'll give me a concise, down to the point answer where I don't have to search 25 websites to get the information I need. So here's a little acronym, a really easy one to remember that you could share with yourself or with kids about how do you evaluate what AI tells you. Or how do you judge? Let's use the word judge. Okay, so it's the acronym is EVERY. So EVERY, and there's lots. If you were to search this on the as a Google search or whatever, there's lots of different versions. I just thought this one was a good one with respect that it's an easy word to remember. Okay, so EVERY stands for evaluate. So again, here's the information. It just gave me a response back on crossing the English Channel. Am I evaluating that? Okay. Right now, kind of like, I don't think so, right? So the V is verify. So, again, whether you use a web or internet-based tool to do that, or you use another AI, and I'll just show you here. I think I've shown you before, but I'll just show you again. So when I use AI, I use this Pi app. I use ChatGPT, Copilot, another place called Magic School, which, by the way, is the only one I actually pay for because it's that good. And then I also use Perplexity or Google's Notebook LM. And also, you have access to Gemini. right? So all of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 AI tools that you have access to. And so when I put something into Pi or one of these other AI tools and it gives me an answer and I'm like, I don't know about that. What I will do is put it into other AI tools and see what they come up with. And sometimes it's similar, sometimes it's different. And then, of course, when it's really different, it leads me to go, is this true, right? One of the tools I like is this one called Perplexity. So when you're doing any kind of research, this one's really good because what it does at the end of whatever it gives you in that search, it will give you citations for where it got the information from. So from the websites, wherever it got that information from, it gives you a list with links of where that information came from. So that can be really helpful to fact check or, verify, right? So we go to evaluate, verify. And then, so once you've done the evaluation and verify kind of stage, then you might need to edit, right? And so that's EVE, and we'll do them. The R is revise, right? So you might need to do some revisions or rewording and things like that. And then the Y stands for it's you, like as in you, right? How does this apply to you? Does it work for you? Is it relevant for you? All of those kinds of things. So where do you sort of fit in this picture of evaluating and looking at this information that you've just, asked an AI for? Okay. And there, like I said, there's lots of different ways that people come up now to do this. I have another AI checklist for written assignments that students would fill out if they're doing like, an essay or something like that, those kinds of things. I can't see my notes. Thank you very much. There we go. Sorry. So we got again, as our sort of checks and balances system to make sure we're doing what we need to do, right? Okay. All right. We're going to do a little activity right now. Okay. And I'm just going to just draw like a little line here. I'm going to send you, I'm going to put a web link in the stream here in a second in Classroom. But so Google has lots and lots of tools, I'm sure, as you're aware. But there is a part of Google is called Google Arts and Culture. And there's so many really cool things that part of Google does. But what we're going to do right now is we're going to work on what our prompting, right? So when you're using AI, if you've used AI already, of course, I'm sure you have, your result or what the AI gives you back, the output is only as good as your input, which is your prompt, right? So the better your prompt is, the better your result will be, right? So we're going to do a little fun activity about prompting. Okay, so let me just grab this link out of my notes, copy, there we go. All right, so then we're going to go to Google Classroom, to the stream, and I'm going to put it right here. So I'm just going to say Google Arts and Culture. And Google Arts and Culture does much more than what's in this link. And I'll just put it here too. There we go. So either way, you can click either one. Okay, so I'll post that, and then I'm actually going to go to it so you can see what we've got going on here. So what I want you to do is get to this screen and then don't do anything else. Okay. Thanks, Liberty, for reminding me about the notes. All right, so this is, if you're not aware yet, you can ask Google or a variety of different AIs and say, hey, can you give me a picture of anything that you want? Okay. And again, it will, depending on the AI, depending on the prompt, it will give you a version of a picture based on that text or that input. Okay. So with this little fun little game here that we're going to play, it's like a text message. You're limited to only a certain amount of characters. And what you're going to do, everybody hit launch. Okay. And then everyone hit start level 1. And stop right there at this little puppy dog picture. So what it's going to do is it's going to give you kind of like on the left-hand side of the screen, it's going to give you a picture. And then on the right-hand side of the screen, you are going to try to recreate that picture using AI. But of course, you're going to recreate that picture by whatever you type into the prompt. So it gives you some practice of using a good prompt to replicate that picture. So for instance, just bear with, and many of us will get different pictures. It's kind of random. So this first picture is like this green square that goes from green and fades to, you know, to pink. So over here, I would type in, you know, create a square that blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then what it'll do is it will recreate the picture for you and then tell you from 0 to 100% how close it thinks you are to reproducing the actual image. You kind of get like 3 tries if you want to do it like that. Or if you get one and you go, oh, or you try it and it's like, oh man, this is too hard. You can always skip it as well and just try another one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you just like 5 minutes just to play around with this. And then I'm going to take a look, or then we'll take a look and chat about how you did or not. I think personally, if you get a score above 80%, you've done really well. If you kind of get 70, 80, somewhere in there, obviously there's room for improvement, but honestly, really probably anything above 70, you're doing a pretty darn good job. Well done. And I don't know, the takeaway from that is that, again, what you put in the prompt is what you get out, and it's no different for generating images. And of course, now you can also use text to generate video and all that kind of stuff. And I've done one video of, give me a video of a person walking through the California redwoods, and there's a Bigfoot peeking around a tree. Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't great, but it created the video in probably 30 seconds or less. So it's kind of neat. So anyhow, question. The average person uses AI blank times per day. What's your number? What do you think? I'll tell you, I'll give you a hint. It's less than 100. So what do you think? The average person uses AI how many times? Do you think 20? Dylan's 20, 30, 78, 7.8, or is that 78? 7.8, 10. All right. Well, anybody else gonna 60? Ooh, Aaron, 60. All right. Well, with what we've got there so far, the gold medal goes to Evelyn. And the answer to that question is 28 times per day. Okay. Now, what I don't mean by that is I don't go to ChatGPT 28 times a day and ask it questions. Although some days maybe I do. I don't know. Okay. What it means, though, is that you use AI of some sort at least 28 times per day. Let me give you some examples. Hey, Siri. What's the temperature outside with the wind chill?
Wind chill is currently minus 16 degrees Celsius.
Right. There you go. There's one time I've used AI today. Right. So things like Siri, Alexa, I got a Hey Google over there. I'm probably going to kick in. And I got, one of the googly things there. Right. So all those types of virtual assistants are examples of AI. So think of how many times in a day you use that tool. Okay. Just a little aside funny story. So Alexa is Amazon's, virtual assistant, right? And they spent millions and millions of dollars, and there's lots of people involved in the development of it and all that jazz. And they actually just let go basically almost the whole Alexa team from Amazon and fired them or reassigned them, because what they found is that the people were not using Alexa appropriately, or the way that Amazon thought people would use it. And does anybody want to guess what the number one thing that people asked Alexa for was? Now, mind you, as you think about your answer and type it maybe in the chat there, is that, of course, Amazon hoped that you'd go, hey, Alexa, put Tide detergent on my grocery list for, delivery next Thursday, right? Anybody want to guess what the number one use of Alexa was? I think it's probably my number one use for Siri too. Same thing here. Hey, Siri, set me a 30-minute timer.
30 minutes starting now.
Right. They use it as a timer. So people at Amazon were going, wow, what a waste. We spend millions and millions of dollars for people to use a glorified timer, right? So interesting. So virtual assistance is part of that 28 times a day. Virtual assistance. Okay. And again, whatever kind of assistant that is. The other one is, again, that we all use is recommendation systems. So I'm just going to short it because I don't want to type in recommendation or write it down. Recommendation systems, right? And what those are like on Netflix, when it goes, hey, here's some shows we think you'd like. Or you go back and visit Amazon, and Amazon says, here's some products we think you might like to buy, right? Or you go onto Apple Music or Spotify or whatever your favorite music thing is, and it goes, here's some songs we think you'd like, right? So all of those sort of preference or recommendation types of systems are all AI generated, okay? Again, we already determined nobody has a self-driving autonomous vehicle, but also when you bank, right? Do you have to put in a fingerprint, an eye, a facial recognition, or some other type of bio recognition of your body parts? So banking, debit, credit, all that kind of stuff requires sometimes for us to do that. So I'll just say fraud detection. Okay, so we've got that, and we don't have to worry about autonomous vehicles. The other one is, and I already talked about it, was health care diagnosis. And again, other than the diagnostic imaging and things that I talked about, but also finding cures and finding medical or medicines for people to treat people. So all of these things that AI are helping with, and we already talked about the X-rays and that kind of idea, but also just recently AI, again, it's been trained, remember, pre-trained, and said, okay, here are some proteins that help the human body. Are there others that we haven't discovered yet? And you know what? The answer was yes. And it came up with all these different types of protein, I can't remember what they're called now, that could help treat viruses and disease and things that AI came up with that human beings didn't think of. And then in the end, they were like, holy smokes, you're right. AI, so it was right. So that's kind of interesting, right? Anything in your smart home, right? It's getting cold here in my office. I just go on my Nest app on my phone and turn on the furnace on, right? Or you disarm your security system, or you turn on some lights, or you're not home, but you want your lights to turn on for a certain amount of time, on and off on it, that kind of idea. So any of that kind of stuff is all AI driven. And then of course, we've already talked about chatbots, right? And whether it's you asking, just chatting with whatever AI on your phone or something like that, or it's some kind of customer service thing. Lots of those are pre-trained AI types of things. Okay. All right. We're getting close to the end, believe it or not. I want to talk to you about 4 types of AI. Okay. So the first 3 are ones where we're farther down the road with some of these than others. Okay. So in your notes, let's just call types of AI. Okay. And these are, well, not really in any particular order. Okay. So 4 types. Okay. We're going to do 4. So type number 1 is something called narrow AI. And I'll give you some examples with this too. So narrow AI. And so here's what I'd like you to think about narrow AI. It's like a superhero. So like a superhero with one incredible power, right? And I mean, we could all pick a superhero and say, oh, that's a cool power. I'd like, if you could have any superhero power in the world, what would it be, right? And most of us could pick something, right? So for example, then, what we're talking about is AIs that are like, that people are currently like playing chess against, right? And so far right now, AI chess is so smart that people can't really beat it anymore. Okay. So it can just think too far ahead and knows too many moves and all this jazz, and it can come up with its own, game or whatever, how to play it on its own. Right. So playing chess, / games. Okay. The other one is facial recognition. Okay. So on your phone, I don't know you, but when I go to I have an Apple phone. So when I go to my photos, app, you can group photos by people's faces, right? And it'll even suggest, it'll go, hey, here's 3 pictures we think are Brad. And you can say yes or no. and then they get added to that group of photos. So you can do that for your family, friends, your significant other, whatever person or people you want. It recognizes faces. I mean, it recognizes your face when you hold it up in front of you, right? Or if you've got a phone where you use or a computer that uses a fingerprint, same kind of idea. Okay. And so again, and then things like, Siri, I'm not going to write down the whole list, right? Alexa, those ones, right? So, and also, Netflix, same with YouTube, right? We didn't mention YouTube before, right? So when you go to YouTube, I don't know about you, when I go to YouTube, it goes, here's some videos we think you might like, right? So this robot is super good at one thing, but not much else, right? So I mean, Siri, I don't know, she's not really good at anything, but the Siri, Alexa, they're good at some things better than others. Like say, basically set me a timer, turn on an alarm, set me a reminder. I don't know. Siri beyond that for me is, not much. I don't have much use for it. Okay. But that kind of idea. So it's narrow AI. Number 2, I'm not going to have room for it on this page, so I'm just going to make a new page though. So number 2 is general AI. Okay. And I don't want you to confuse it with generative AI. So general AI, but it is also known as strong AI. So maybe that's how we can or not get confused with generative versus general. Okay. So this type of AI is like having a robot friend, like having a robot friend. Okay. Who can do almost, okay, keyword there, almost, right? Everything a human can do. Almost everything a human can do. Okay? That'd be pretty cool, right? So this type of AI can learn new things, right? So again, we can train it to learn new things. Maybe you want to play catch with it, right? It can learn new things. It can solve puzzles. It's good at, I'm just going to say it, at languages. So it's good at like text or oral or verbal language. And it can also use multiple language. So, say languages. Okay. And I'm going to go conversation. Okay. So it could be like your best friend, right? And whenever I talk, I use Pi is probably my number one that I use, and Pi is free. You can totally have a conversation with her. And each day, I don't use it every single day, but if I go onto the app, she'll have, hey, good morning, Brad, blah, blah, blah. And she'll like have a conversation starter and whatever. I have lots of human friends. I don't need her as my friend, but it's interesting to have a conversation with her. Okay. And like I said, she makes jokes. She uses inflection in her voice, and it's like talking to a real person. It's kind of interesting. Okay. So imagine like a robot buddy, right? Okay. And again, this robot buddy can also do things like, read you a book, right? It could write a story, right? It could, if it's in robot form, cook, clean, I'll say play, right? And again, with unending patience, right? You think of like every time I've ever played frisbee or catch or whatever with my kids when they were younger, it's like, oh, there I go, I gotta go run and go get the ball again. Oh, the frisbee is 10 miles away instead of, so again, right, with unending patience. So again, I can see so many good applications of this for elderly people, but with kids, like I've already said, it kind of scares me a little bit as far as social skills go. So with general AI, one of the things too here is just to think, it was like we're not quite there yet. Okay, we have some levels of this, but we're not I don't know about you, but I don't have a robot in my home that's going to play catch with me in the yard, that kind of idea. So we have general AI. Okay. Next one is where it starts getting scary. Okay. So number 3 is artificial super intelligence. Okay. Super intelligence. Okay. And because that's a mouthful to say and write, most people just refer to it as ASI. Okay. Now, this is the Skynet Terminator robots take over the world and either enslave us or kill us all. Okay. This is that kind of level stuff. And depending on who you want to believe, some people actually are saying that we're kind of there already. And some people say we're 10 years out. I don't know. I don't know enough about AI to really have an opinion. So, but when we get there and robots are like, or AI is like what I'm about to write down in our notes, then I think we need to maybe start getting scared. Okay. So if the first kind was like a superhero with one skill, ASI or artificial super intelligence is like a superhero with every power. So take all the superheroes and lump them all together in one thing, and that AI, that robot has all of the powers, okay, that you can imagine, right, of all the superheroes, right? So obviously, understatement is it's going to be super smart, okay, and it will be able to do everything a human can do, to be able to do everything a human can do, and do, comma, but faster, more accurately, and, just in general, here, I'll just way better. Okay. So it's not only going to be able to outthink us or outsmart us, but it's going to have capabilities that are beyond what human beings can do. Okay. It can also, if it's super smart, it can solve complex problems. Like I was explaining about those proteins, right? That humans haven't been able to do. So it can solve complex problems. Okay. It can, so on our first one, we said that, or on the sound general AI, we said it can learn new things. It can solve puzzles and stuff like this. Well, ASI will be able to actually invent things. So make amazing inventions that, again, amazing, that people probably haven't thought about, make amazing inventions, right? And maybe some of those inventions will be how to cure cancer or stop global warming, or, something that's going to save the planet or save our species, get us out into space to other planets. I don't know yet, right? So it's going to be able to make these amazing things that we're not able to do, right? And like cure disease, and protect the environment, right? So some people are saying that if you ask a super AI, how do we fix the earth and make it non-polluted and stop climate change and all the things that human beings do, bad things that we do to our environment, like fix those things for us. Well, if anybody want to guess an AI solution to fixing all those things is, if you know or have an idea, what do you think in the chat? Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Maya. Right? Get rid of humans. Right? I don't know if any of you have ever watched the show. It's back from the 90s called The X-Files with David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson. And in one of the episodes, this is not an AI, but he comes across a genie, right? I don't know, or whatever he found her in a carpet or something like that. And and of course, you get 3 wishes. So one of his wishes was for world peace. Well, the genie snaps her fingers and he has world peace. But what he didn't really realize when he was wishing it is he should have maybe gave it a better prompt, because she made him the only person on the earth. So you can't fight with yourself. So world peace, there you go, right? So again, we got to be careful what we ask it to do, especially if it can outthink us, outsmart us, do things better, faster than a human being can do. So we need to be careful with that. Okay, number 4 is kind of where we're at now. And this is generative AI, not general AI. It's generative AI. Okay. And again, remember, we're using this term artificial intelligence, just, I don't know, this laissez-faire. We're using it however we want to use it. But really, what generative AI, and again, where we're at today, is what they call an LLM, which stands for a large language model, like ChatGPT. Okay. Or think of any of the other ones out there, same idea. So generative AI is where we're at now. Okay. At least in general usage, right? Who knows what the military or, scientists have that we aren't aware of. But what we're using on a day-to-day basis right now is generative AI, these large language models. And remember, generative, pre-trained, transformer, right? So it can create, and we'll use this word, novel content, right? And novel meaning new, right? So any of those AIs that we've talked about, you could say, hey, create me a poem for my sweetheart for Valentine's Day. Her name is Alita, right? Boom. It'll create, not only that, it'll create you a song. It'll create you a story. It will make a picture, right? I mean, you could, right? So it will create this new content that you don't necessarily have to do yourself, right? Can I think of a poem that I could write to my sweetie pie? Oh yeah, but it probably, be along the same things as roses are red, violets are blue, because that's about my poetry level, right? So it can create this novel content based on I'll say our instructions, right? Our input instructions. Okay. And let's put in brackets our prompt. Okay. Keep that in mind. So, and this novel content that it can create is text, which we're very aware of, I'm sure. It can create audio. It can create video. It can create slideshows. If you haven't tried that yet, that's pretty cool. Slideshows. And really, I'm just going to say any kind of multimedia content. Right? So we could take out multimedia content. What else do I want to put in here? Oh, and computer code and code. Okay. And this is really kind of the one that's kind of big in the news right now, where you don't have to have any coding experience, and you can ask an AI to create me, program that does whatever, XYZ, and it will do it. Right. So right now, what the trend is that people who are computer coders, their job is kind of changing to be computer code checkers and making sure that the AI, because remember, it hallucinates, isn't making any kind of mistakes, or it's not creating code that would be bad or detrimental, or do something bad, right? So coding, the world of coding is changing because of AI. Any of you that use spreadsheets, right? I was working on a spreadsheet not that long ago, and I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. So I just went to Pi. I didn't even go to any special AI, and I said, hey, can you give me the function in a spreadsheet that does A, B, and C? And she said, oh yeah, no problem, Brad. Boom, boom, boom. Gave me the line, the formula, and I copied the formula, put it into my spreadsheet. Boom, it worked perfect, right? So I didn't have to know the formula. I didn't need to be a spreadsheet expert. I just asked my AI, can you help me with this? And she said, sure. And it worked. It was awesome. So, so again, we know that. And then when we talk again about these large language models, I know that we said this previously, but I want to write it down one more time, is it is not recommended for I'll say kids less than 13 years old. Okay, so we keep that in mind, right? Again, for our classrooms. And most of them, if a user would say, yeah, I'm not 13, then what happens, and it's kind of an onerous process, but what happens is then they have to have parental permission. And then the parent has to kind of jump through a bunch of hoops to get the underage kid onto that platform or whatever it is. So here, I'm just going to do a little demo here of Pi. I want to introduce you to her. I'm just going to turn that on. Okay, and I can talk to her. Good morning, Pi. Period. Say hello to my class. Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Top of the morning to you and your class. Hello, everyone. I'm Pi, the friendly AI assistant. It's a pleasure to virtually meet all of you today. What topic are we diving into this morning?
Oh, yeah. And of course, because she's a chatbot, she wants to talk a lot. So, but anyways, isn't that interesting? Like, so again, right, you can just interact with her and she'll keep asking, keep the conversation going. So it's kind of interesting. I like her for that reason. Okay. All right. How are we doing here for time? We're getting close. Okay. Last little piece of these notes is just sort of, again, remember we talked about, we got to teach people how to use this ethically. So I'm just going to say that this next little part is called ethical challenges and considerations. I think I'm going to put challenges / considerations. Okay. Considerations. Okay. So again, you as the teacher, okay, are responsible for a lot of things that deals with children, and again, in and around their safety. So, and of course, everyone's, right? So one of the things that you need to think about, not only for your kids, but for yourself, is privacy. What is happening with the data that you are putting into these AIs, right? And most of these AIs will tell you what they're doing with your data. So for instance, Google Gemini and Microsoft Copilot for education, okay? Hence, education users, it says that your data will not be used to train the AI. But if you're using either one of those products outside as not a teacher kind of thing, it will take that data and it will use your data. And we already know all of the things that it can figure out about you and that data, right? And so when we're talking about children that are under our care, that is an important thing to think about. Okay, how are my students and how is my privacy being handled? Okay, we need to know that. So number 2, we've kind of talked about this already: bias and fairness. And we already know that it can be biased. Again, because it inherits those. Let's put that down. It inherits bias from the data it's trained on. The data it's trained on. So if it's trained on just one kind of data, and again, whether it's discriminatory, prejudicial, or whatever, that's what you're going to get out of it. So, if you're training it on some type of thing like that, that's what your responses are going to be. Okay. Now, third thing is transparency. And I'll just leave it at that. So transparency. So is what it's doing with the input that you're giving it, is it telling you what it's going to do, right? Do you understand that sorry, it's our 10-minute warning here. Does it or 10-minute warning. Does it understand, or do you understand, sorry, that when you type things into that AI, it's using whatever you put in there to keep training its model? Okay. So we need to know that. And those apps or that software needs to be ethical in its own right, telling you what it's going to do with your data. And so far, the ones that I use are fairly transparent. Okay, so we need to know that. So we'll put here, what's happening with, I'm going to say your inputs, and that kind of will cover everything that you either say or type into one of these AIs. Okay, so the other one that we have to think about is accountability. Accountability. I'm going to go /responsibility because I think we need to have both responsibility. Okay, so again, this is extreme example, but if you have students using AI, or let's say you tell them to use AI at home for homework tonight, and that AI tells them to kill themselves, who is accountable or responsible for that action, right? So you need to know the accountability of that AI system or whatever that you're using. So so I don't know what, I'm just going to say who is responsible here. Who is responsible / accountable. So we'll just use the same words. Okay, right? So if something happens, who is responsible? Okay, and then of course this last one that I want to add. Is it the last one? Let me just scooch down on my notes here a little bit. There's two more. Is security and safety, so which kind of go with this accountability, security / safety. Okay, so I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. Either how it's being used, I guess against you or for you, or how you're using it to maybe harm or not, that kind of idea. Okay, so the safety and security, and then the last one too here is informed consent. Okay, and most again of these systems are doing it, you're giving it informed consent. It'll say, hey, a couple things you need to know. A, we're going to use your data to train our model. And B, not all of the information it will give you is potentially accurate, right? So it's being upfront and saying to you that, hey, by the way, if you use this, here's the consequences, right? And it's, it's no really different than an app on your iPhone or on your Android phone, right? I mean, you don't have to put your hand up. You can just do imaginary. Put your hand up if you have free apps on your phone, right? And most of us will put our hands up, okay? But you got to remember, there are no free lunches in this life, right? If they're giving you something for free, they want something back from you. And of course, with these apps, you know what they're doing. They're collecting all kinds of information about you. What websites you visit, where you go, do you exercise, like everything about you, it's tracking, right? Especially on those free apps. So, and so the same thing with the AI, it's gathering all this information about people, about you. And do you know what's happening with that stuff, right? And of course, those free apps, when they gather all that information on you, what do? They sell it to different companies to do, things with it. Okay. So, just want to see, I think that's it. Okay. That is all for notes, but I'm going to ask you one last question, just because it kind of is disturbing. Just like, where is it? There we go. So we talk about deep fakes, right? And you saw them in the videos where, it was Tom Cruise or President Obama or whoever, right? So we know that, I mean, honest to gosh, if you didn't know that was some kind of AI doing that, you probably think it was the right person, right? Same thing with Randy Travis song, right? If you heard that song and you didn't know that it was an actual AI, doing that song, you would never know, right? So what industry, what type of industry do you think uses deepfake videos the most? And actually 96% of all deepfake videos are used by this industry. Does anybody want to guess what industry that is? Media journalism? That's a really good guess, Nicole. Anyone else? Going. Movies and TV? Gone. All right. Well, Liberty and Nicole, you kind of are close. 96% of all deepfake videos are pornography. Crazy, right? Putting someone else's face on someone else's body in a XXX rated video pornography. So isn't that mind-blowing, right? It's like, but interestingly enough, the pornography industry is always, wherever the curve is going, they're right there. They're on that. They're cutting edge. Whatever new tech comes out, they're using it. And so I've done lots of research on this, and it doesn't matter what it is, the pornography industry is usually first adopters. So anyways, kind of crazy. So again, thinking about ethical use, can little Billy put somebody's face on somebody else's body? It doesn't have to be a pornography video, but could they do that and, you know, misrepresent somebody? Well, we've seen in the videos that we've watched how easy it is to do that, right? So, and when we talk about the audio part of it, where AI can replicate your voice, here's the last question, then I'll let you go. How many seconds of audio of like my voice or your voice does an AI have to listen to before it can replicate your voice perfectly? No matter what text you type in there, it will be your voice. Does anybody want to guess? 30 seconds? 10? Oh, there you go. Lily got it. 15 seconds of listening to your audio, and the AI audio apps can reproduce your voice with 100% accuracy. Isn't that not crazy? So whether it's a video or audio, again, we can use it for nefarious, crazy things. And also we can use it for good. So with that said, if you're done with me, you know what to do. You can leave. Please have a great weekend. We will see you next week. If you have questions about your lesson plans, please reach out to me. And so if you're done, head on out. If you need to talk to me about anything, stick around. And other than that, have a great weekend. Thanks for being here today, everyone. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording now. That's not what I wanted to do. Just give me 1 sec.